Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for my music collection update. Everything that I've picked up over winter-spring 2025. So everything that I've picked up over the past 6 months, pretty much. I'm sure you guys know, if it's not your first time joining me for a collection update, you guys know how this works, and it normally takes a little bit of time, so we might as well get straight into it. As usual, I'm going to start with the new album, so all the releases from 2025, which majority of this video is going to be the new releases, just because it's coming to the end of the year and I want to pick up all the albums that I liked and, re-listen to them and prepare for end of year videos and stuff like that. But then towards the back end, I'll also do some throwback albums and, albums from previous years like I usually do. So let's get stuck into it, because like I said, these videos normally take a little while. Try and do it all in one take. So let's start with the new releases from 2025. We'll grab the first few handfuls here. So the first album that I have here on the top of the pile, it's in no particular order. I have Violent Nature by the band I Prevail. I Prevail have recently had a lineup change with their clean vocalist leaving the band, and I think a lot of people were really interested in what this album was going to be. So in a way, it's heavier than the typical I Prevail stuff that we've had in the past. But I think with what they had with the lineup change and everything, this album worked. It's not like a favorite heavy metal album from this year or anything like that, but definitely one that I found myself enjoying and coming back to. So Violent Nature from I Prevail. One that you would have seen in a recent music unboxing that I did from Pure Noise Records. Here I have Comfort Company by the band Bearings. The more and more I listen to it, the more and more it's grown on me, so that's pretty cool. I still don't think it's at the best that Bearings have ever been, but I think it's an improvement from their last album. And yeah, if you like pop punk with a little bit of a softer tone at points, this is a album that's good to go. So Comfort Company by the band Bearings. I picked up Good Charlotte's album Motel du Cap. The glare is not making that white look very nice, but yeah, Hotel du Cap. I think a lot of people, have somewhat clumped this into an album coming out by a band who have gone past their peak and their heyday and everything, and sort of thrown it into that category. But for what it is, coming back to it and re-listening to it throughout the year, it's got some staying power for sure, and I don't think it's even close to the worst album that Good Charlotte have put out. So I think there's more enjoyment to come out of this one than I think a lot of people are making out to be. So Motel du Cap, Good Charlotte. A big change of pace here, but you know me, I don't mind a sneaky pop girly album, and this is one from middle of the year. This is Addison by Addison Rae. Her music, I think the biggest problem with her music is the lyrics. It almost comes across as I think intentionally campy a little bit, but I still think it could be just cleaned up, on the writing side of things. But I think sonically and sound wise and everything, I think it's honestly pretty cool. And she's doing some stuff that feels early 2000s mixed with almost I say early 2000s, going back in time, but it's also got this modern futuristic twang to it as well. So I think it's a cool fusion of something that feels nostalgic to me while also feeling fresh and interesting. So Addison by Addison Rae. Like I said, a very weird music change there from the normal stuff that I show, but like I said, I enjoy a sneaky pop girly album every now and then. Here's a fairly new one that came out towards the back end of this year. We have Everyone's a Star by 5 Seconds of Summer. Now, I'm a big 5 Seconds of Summer fan. Their early albums were big factors for me growing up. Like I said, I was born in the early 2000s, so when they were coming out, I was in middle school and everything, and they obviously had a big sound change over time, and this is their newest effort. And you could, even though that their past 3-4 albums have been different, sound wise and sonically and everything, it still is a fair bit of adjusting, being okay, this is their sound now. And once you get used to it, I've actually really enjoyed this album, and it's been on heavy rotation recently. These white album covers are not looking good in the glare, sorry about that, guys. But Everyone's a Star, 5 Seconds of Summer. And here we come with another white album cover. Sorry, I got a shit stuck in my throat. But here we have the album Idols by Youngblood. Youngblood, I've said this on my channel before, he's sort of an artist that I've had a rocky relationship with. You know, I think his early stuff, when it was first coming out, like I was always on board with it. I'm like, yeah. The more I come back to it, like it sort of wavers. And with this one, I was like, I'll give it a chance. And honestly, it hasn't held up the best over time. And, you know, that's saying something considering this album came out, you know, a handful of months ago. So it hasn't been the longest time. It's got its moments, but I don't think it's really his best work, but, you know, I still picked it up for the, you know, the handful of songs on there that I don't mind. Here we have the new 21 Pilots album, Breach. Last year they dropped Clancy, and normally when an album comes out, you know, the following year and there's not really a big space between albums, I know a lot of people get really hyped for that, but it honestly makes me a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh, is this going to be like a rushed project, or is it going to feel like underwhelming in comparison? And I do think Clancy is the better of the two, but Breach, again, I think 21 Pilots, they just know what they're doing now. And yeah, another really cool delivery there from them. Here's one that I picked up really early in the last 6 months, so it's been a while since I listened to this one in full again. But here we have the album Anti-Bloom by the band Silverstein. Really cool slip case there. But yeah, it's a short effort. It's only like 8 songs or something like that, if I remember correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 songs. They actually have another. They've had 2 albums come out this year. So Anti-Bloom, and then the other one was called Pink Moon. I think it's meant to be like a companion piece thing. So far, I've only picked up this one, and for what it is, like I enjoy it. I think it's fine. Again, showing off my pop girly albums here. We have Sabrina Carpenter's Man's Best Friend. I don't think it's as good as Short and Sweet, which again I think I want to say came out last year, or maybe like late 2023, something like that. Like I said, I don't think it's as good as Short and Sweet, but you know, it's still got some enjoyable, fun moments on it for sure. I think like the one thing that I'm like starting to get worried about with Sabrina Carpenter, like I have no problem with a female artist, you know, writing songs about their sexuality and being very open, and if you've heard her music, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My one thing is, I think it's going to eventually get to a point where it's just overly jarring, where like all you're writing about seems to be these sort of topics, and eventually it's going to get to a point where it's numbing. And there's moments on this album where it's fun, like, you know, House Tour and stuff like that, where she's talking about, you know, these are just metaphors, but literally the metaphors are not just metaphors if you're listening to it properly and things like that. So like it can come across as fun and everything, but then there's literally a song on here where I'm not even sure if I can say it on YouTube, where she says her I'm gonna try and fill in the blanks here, like smutty lady part. Like she literally just says that out loud. I'm gonna say it, like slutty vagina. She just says that, and it's just like it's gonna get to a point where it's like, okay, this is like, it's not as fun and playful and lighthearted as once was. I think it's just like it's wearing thin at a point. I'm getting to that point where I think it could get there. But anyway, Man's Best Friend, I still enjoyed it for what it is, you know. One of my favourite albums from this year for sure. Again, one that you would have seen in the Pure Noise Records collection update video. Arm's Length and their album There's a Whole World Out There. Yeah, this album's just blown me away in so many different aspects. You know, this year, one being this is my first taste of Arm's Length. I wasn't really aware of this band or much of their music before this album, so this was like my first sort of taste into them, and they just blew me away instantly. And the more and more I come back to this album, the sound of it, the writing, there's so many qualities about this album that I'm really fucking digging. So Arm's Length, There's a Whole World Out There. Here we have the new one by Melbourne rock band, so representing hometown sort of area here. We have The Living Ends, Only Trust Rock and Roll. Yeah, I think it's a pretty consistent album. You know, it's not like a top tier one for the year for myself, but you know, it's consistency, and if I'm in the right mood, this one can be pretty vibey. Just like, yeah, if you're aware of the Living End, like, you know what you're gonna get sonically. I actually saw them live not too long ago, and they played, I feel like majority of the tracks here on the back, and yeah, cool shit. Next up, we have the band Deftones and their new album, Private Music. I actually really like this album cover, like the green and the I'm guessing albino snake there, but Deftones are one of those bands that, like, I almost put them into like a category of like bands like Tool and Weezer, where it's like, if you don't get it, it's not gonna be for you. Like I think Tool is like the best example. If you don't get Tool, it's very hard to get into them. I feel like Deftones is somewhat similar, and for the longest time I never really got Deftones. I didn't have anything against them, and I didn't have anything against people who did really like Deftones and stuff. Just for me, I didn't get it, so I'm like, whatever. But this is sort of like the first album where, listening to it, I'm like, okay, there's like something here that is really intriguing and interesting and stuff. So this was a cool one to pick up, like I said. Private Music by Deftones. Another Australian band here to show off their second album, and again, I think it's another case of an album coming out either early last year or late 2023. Again, I can't put my finger on it, but the band Bloom and their album The Light We Chase. Yeah, I think this is an improvement on their first album. I believe this is their sophomore, if I remember correctly. Their first album, again, is one that I think if I find it at the right price and, you know, I give it a few more re-listens before I get around to it fully, I think I might get around to picking that one up also. But I do think this is an improvement on their debut one. Still not a perfect album by any means, but there's some really cool shit here, and I think they have some, like, one thing that I really want to highlight of this album is some really good featured vocals. They've got Patrick Miranda from Movements on this one. They've got, what's her name? Michaela Delgado from Yours Truly on here as well. So some really cool features as well, but definitely check it out if, like, you know, Australian heavy scene is something that you're interested in. Bloom's new album is something to check out. We've got a couple more here that I forgot to pick up with the rest of the 2025 pile. One that's had a lot of hype, so I don't really know how to add on to this one, but we got Hayley Williams' solo project, Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party. Obviously Hayley Williams, the front woman of Paramore, and she's had a lot of success doing her solo stuff as well. She had a solo album a couple of years back, which, honestly, to be completely fair, I haven't listened to that one too much in full, really. So this was sort of my first deep dive into her solo stuff, and I don't think I'm as high on it as a lot of other people are, but with that being said, it's Hayley Williams, so her vocals are incredible. She has like really strong songwriting as well, and I think there's like a diverse range of topics on here as well that is covered, so I think it is a pretty solid effort, even if I'm not as high on it as what a lot of other people are. But Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party by Hayley Williams. And then the last one for the 2025 pile to go through, here we have the band Turnstile with their album Never Enough. Now, it wasn't actually too long ago I was talking about this album and being like, I don't think I'm as high on it as what a lot of other people are, and even looking back, I don't think anyone's like insanely high on this one, to be fair. I think it depends on like how deep you are into Turnstile and how much you like them. I think like people that are like crazy about Turnstile are sort of like iffy on this one. People that are just more casual seem to like really enjoy it. This one's grown on me more and more the more I've listened to it and just let it sink in, and when I'm recapping what else has come out this year, I'm like, okay, I actually like this one more than what I probably let on at first. But Never Enough, cool stuff there by Turnstile. I'm sort of like trying to rapid fire through this one because these videos can take a while. I'm already at almost 15 minutes pretty much. But let's go through the stack of throwback albums. And when I say throwback, you know, some could be from 2024 and then some could be, I think the latest we go back is like, what have we got here? 2000, I think. I'm looking at the pile. I think like the earliest we go back is the year 2000. So one that we got here, and another one that might be familiar. If you checked out one of my unboxings, here we have the band Piss Veil and their album The Flair for the Dramatic. Now, I'm a big fan of Piss Veil. They're like one of my all-time favourite bands, definitely a top tenner. And this is like the one album that I was never honestly too familiar with. So when I was putting together an order of other stuff, I'm like, I'm going to pick this one up because, like I said, I just like the band this much, and this is sort of my blind spot. So pulled the trigger on that one, and to be fair, I'm still not overly familiar with it. Need to just listen to it a little bit more. This is the album that sort of made me put the order together. Here we have Standard Atlantic's EP Sidewinder, and again, that glare is not looking too. Let me take the slip cover off because it's actually a slip cover. There we go. It's only an EP, so 5 songs. If you're aware of Standard Atlantic, you would know these 5 songs because they've been in their discography. This is like their earliest project. So you've got Sidewinder, Mess I Made, Push, Coffee at Midnight, which is probably the most notable one here, Chemicals. I picked this one up, like I said, it was the reason why I ended up putting this order together from Rude Records. It was like a re-release of their physical, so it's actually numbered. It's 157 out of 200, so yep, picked that one up. In the same order, I picked up this album by the band Have Mercy called The Earth Pushed Back. Again, that fucking white is not letting me show off any of these album artworks or anything, but yeah, it's like emo with like a bit of Midwest in there as well. Again, I'm sort of just trying to become more and more familiar with this album. I think Have Mercy had a new album come out this year. I listened to a bit of it, but I should probably get into it a little bit more. But for what it is, not bad. And then the last one that came from this order, at least, again, Pierce of Ale. I'd never. This is an album I was familiar with by them, but never had the chance to pick it up because I'd never actually seen a physical release of it before. But here we have Selfish Machines. Again, I think Pierce of Ale fans, this is sort of where you become more familiar with the catalogue of songs that are on this one. But yeah, this one was a little less foreign to me when it comes to Pierce of Ale, but cool to pick up. One of my favourite album artworks of the past handful of years. I just think it's so unique and goofy, but that's the album artwork I'm talking about at least. But this is Analysis Paralysis by the band 4 Years Strong. Yeah, this is an album that was really teetering on wanting to pick up from last year, I want to say. But just the more and more I listen to it through early half of this year, I'm like, yeah, when I find a chance to pick this one up, I will. 4 Years Strong, it's like, pop punk and a little bit of rock, experimental influence in there as well. Yeah, a lot of really cool imagery in this album, actually. I'm digging, but yeah. Yeah, a band that has grown on me more and more as time goes on. I used to not really get the hype for them, even though I'm massive into pop punk, and a lot of people probably just didn't understand me being so into pop punk, but not really getting the hype for these guys. But the more and more I've listened to them over time, the more it's grown on me, and I think this is honestly their best album to date. Here we have State Champs with their self-titled, and again, that glare is just not letting me show off anything, but State Champs there. Yeah, pretty much all I needed to say there. Just an album that really made me go, okay, yeah, pop. When it comes to pop punk bands, State Champs is maybe a band I'm overlooking a little bit. Really enjoyed this one. So, speaking of pop punk bands, here we have a classic by a very beloved pop punk band of the 2000s, and I guess they've carried over a fair amount of success into the 2010s and so on. Here we have All Time Low with their album So Wrong It's Right. Now, a controversial take. I've always been one to say I think All Time Low are somewhat overrated. I think their best songs are incredible. When they're at their peak with their writing and instrumentals and stuff like that, and you look at their most popular and best hits and whatever, it is really good. But when you look at their albums, I honestly don't think they have a banger album from start to finish. I think their best album is Don't Panic. But even then, I wouldn't say it's a smash hit or anything. So, this album, obviously has songs to highlight. Again, I saw this band live at Good Things literally yesterday. That's why I've got a little bit of colour walking around in the hot Australian sun. But yeah, obviously got Dear Maria, Count Me In, and some other songs on here that people would highlight. But I've never just been as high on All Time Low as what a lot of the other people have been. But here we have the album that I was mentioning from the year 2000. To wrap up this collection update, here I have Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, how did I just never have this album in my collection in the first place? Yeah, it's just one of those scenarios where, I've been living by myself you know, in my own place for over a year now, and I never had to worry about, you know, having this album in my own collection, because when I, you know, lived back at home, we used to have like a family, you know, shelf of albums and things like that, and this one always lived in there, so I always had it with me when I was living back at home. But moving out on my own, I'm like, okay, I gotta actually pick up my own copy of it now. So Hybrid Theory, obviously, a very popular and beloved album, not just for Linkin Park fans, but like new metal fans and people growing up in the scene, you know, around this era. So you know, it's not really one that's a deep cut or, you know, a hidden gem or whatever, but one I was familiar with, just needed to pick up in my own collection. But there we go, guys. That is everything that I picked up over the past 6 months, music wise. I guess for people that maybe have skipped a few of my collection updates and everything, I hope you know now that I've split it into 2 lots. I have my horror movie collection update, which I posted a handful of days ago. I can't remember exactly, but I'm doing my music one separately because, you know, if I'm to show off everything, music and movie wise, in one video, it's literally going to go on forever. So I've split it into 2. So if you want to go check out my horror movie collection update, showing off the movies that I picked up behind me and everything, go and check that one out. Also, there's actually one thing that I forgot to show off in this video. I got to go get it now, actually, so I'm going to make a quick cut and I'll come back to you in a second. So I'm back with a few shirts that I want to show off that are music related. That was really weird. I was doing the outro, but while I was speaking to the camera and you guys, through my mind I was going, that did not nearly take as long as what I thought it was going to take. I'm like, did I grab all the albums? And I'm like, yeah, I knew I made sure to go through the entire list of everything that I picked up. And I'm still speaking to you guys, but my gears are turning in my brain, and I'm like, fuck, normally I show off, like, you know, music related collectibles or shirts or anything that I picked up as well, and I'm like, where is that pile? And I realized it's sitting in my bedroom across there, so I'm like, shit, I have to actually go get them. So a few music related shirts to go through here, guys. The first one is this Limp Bizkit Goosebumps shirt. It's Why I'm Afraid of Chainsaws. Obviously, if you're familiar with Limp Bizkit, you'll get that, but it's also really funnily, is that a word? Humorously tied into Goosebumps. Yeah, I've been fucking with this shirt. I think it's very cool. So that is the first of 2. This will be really quick, hopefully. The video is not going to be that much longer with me getting up to go grab these. Again, I am a big fan of pop girly music when it comes out, and I'm not ashamed of it either. So here is my Power Pop Girls shirt. So obviously a reference to the Powerpuff Girls, but you got Sabrina Carpenter, Chapel Roan in the middle, and Charlie XCX. So yeah, that is the second of the 2 shirts that I wanted to show there. Now I'm like paranoid that there's other stuff that I'm forgetting, but hopefully no one left the video so quickly that you know, they forgot to check out the shirts if that was something they were interested in. But thank you for joining me, guys. Again, you can go and check out my horror movie collection update that I posted a handful of days ago. But yeah, thank you for joining me for this music collection update, and I'll see you for some more content soon enough, I'm sure. Alright, ladies, guys.